I'm with this group.
Well, would you
yes.
like to introduce your associates?
Yes. I'm Barbara Gaffney from the Historical Society. I think most of you know me. This is our administrative coordinator, Tina Valgenti. So if you have anything to do with the society, Tina will take care of you.
Very good.
And then we have Ann Yost from
Hello.
YSM Landscape Architects. So she will take care of it.
Okay.
Well, I can start a little bit. We were brought on board earlier this year to do a master plan of the site. And I, like maybe other people, every time I would go to the park, I would just go to the tunnel, go back to my car. That's what I saw. And there's really so much more to this park. There's 112 acres there. So that's why I thought the slides are fairly patient. We additionally did a lot of keepers and interviews, a lot of outreach. If you know the property, you know that the future extension of the rail trail to the north is going to go right by the bottom boundary of the park. So we talked to the rail trail, we talked to Audubon Society representatives, talked to just a lot of different people who use the park or might use it in the future, have some kind of relationship with the park. I'm sure you all know where it is, but the size of the property, 112 acres, it really is extensive, and you can see the future extension of the Lebanon Valley Rail Trail. Just for people who may not have been there recently. This picture in was just to say there's a lot of uses there. It's not just people going for the historic site or to walk their dog, which is very popular, but there's the canoeing, the boat rides, the special events with Union Canal days, fishing every time I'm there, people walking, just enjoying the site. And there's a lot to see. There's a lot of historic and natural environmental aspects to the site. We have the manicured lawns, but then we have meadows, an old farmstead with some foundations, old farm lane, very nice long views, which are really important and aesthetic. There's a quarry, and you can see in the bottom right there. And again, some of the functional things you need to think about. The dock, that's the dock that's used for scare fare, storage, storage on the north side. These 4 pictures are all the north side parcel of the park. So it really has a lot to offer. There's a small wetland and extensive woodlands. So this was our site analysis map. It was a way for us to document what we saw out there. Primary of our concern was the historic corridor, the big purple line that goes through that follows the canal itself. And then how the different areas are used. The larger green blobs show open areas that are kind of undefined and open, and then of course the woodlands, the quarry, you can see what's going on there.
Is the brown arrow the rail trail going through?
Yeah, the brown is,
okay.
is the rail trail. And you see on the bottom west of our property, it actually goes on our property, but there's already an understanding that yes, it will go right across the property. It's just a function of where the property lines fall. Okay, so we put together some goals, just so you know where everybody is with this. But first and foremost, as we work with the committee, celebrating the unique history and features of the site and expanding interpretive opportunities. That's one of the main things we want to accomplish with this master plan. There is the historic Krall barn, and there's a need for the Historic Society to find a new home at some point in the future. So thinking about how those two entities could be worked into the site was a secondary goal. Accommodating the rail trail, and then enhancing facilities. We need to address ADA. You know, we need to improve park function. There's storage at different places throughout the park, just things to make the park better. And then the idea of expanding low-impact recreation opportunities. So the idea of property as the full extent of the property here with the north side. What we're proposing on the north side is not very much of a change. You can see here there's really no new built facilities. It's really more plantings. What's been happening over there is kind of an arboretum type development where there's different trees of different species being put in people enjoy going, looking at the trees, and enjoying the view and bird watching on that side. So we really have left that. On the south side, there's a lot more opportunity, and what we've done is created a hub area, a recreation area, and then kind of passive areas, just to talk generally. We want to keep this a little shorter, but we have blow-ups, so it just makes it a little easier to see. In this hub area, we tried to reconfigure how people see the canal and the tunnel. Just moved everything as far east as possible, so the interpreters tell us it's hard to get all their talking in by the time they're down here on the boat. We've moved everything down, placed the Krall barn here, and then allowed it to function to take care of some of those things you do in a hub area. It would have restrooms. It would be a place where you could get tickets for the boats when the boats are active. It could be a concession area that could be leased out. It's a place where you could have outdoor interpretive exhibits and also indoor interpretive exhibits. The outdoor interpretive exhibit area is developed right here on the previous parking area. Has a reuse potential. Also, we wanted to separate his kind of let you be immersed in the history. So we wanted to get the cars away from the edge of the canal, so that when you go past the barn, you're in an area where you can start thinking about the way it was in the canal era. New parking coming in. This is a difficult intersection, people coming off this curb and turning in. We've aligned a new parking drop-off and bays of parking right here, central to the frontage of the property. And then this is a future building for the Historic Society, so you have dual purpose to this parking lot.
That's actually bigger than the barn.
It is, and it's a big barn,
Yeah.
but the Historic Society had worked with some architects to get some additional, some thoughts together on what they would need. So we used their footprint to develop this footprint. So it's a large facility. Additional picnic, we have one picnic pavilion out there now, it's very popular, so I added another picnic pavilion here. Making this the central maintenance area, this is where it is now, with the idea of putting a kind of vernacular image of a mule shed here to screen the maintenance area. It's the best place for the maintenance area. They have a nice building now. But let's, again, try to immerse ourselves in history by putting something up here that would screen that area. And then we have trails, of course, going off in the woodlands. I went the wrong way. Oh, good.
Oh, look at that.
So there you can see what I was talking about. The image before this is pictures of the Krall barn that's been dismantled and hopefully will be reassembled at the site.
Will it have the stonework underneath or just the wood
The stone
up?
has been saved and it is stockpiled on the site. And the logs have been saved and they are in storage in various locations. Some of the ideas here, we don't have a lock in this park. We have something better than a lock, but we don't have a lock. So the idea of maybe doing a ground plane interpretation of a lock. Here's one at another historic site where there was a ground plane interpretation of, well, three-dimensional ground plane of a canal boat. The idea of maybe having sculpture showing, you know, the mule and the child taking the mule down along the canal. What I find so interesting is they, of course, had to walk the mules over the hill to get to the other side. And that could be a great place for a sculpture of a child taking that mule over the hill. It really tells the story it's obvious when you're there, but you have to think about it a little bit. So just a public plaza area, and we do have a little rendering of this later. The upland, the woodlands, the idea of using stone, there's a lot of stone stockpiled on the site. You have stone with the canal facades, using it for overlooks up at the site where you may rise a little bit in grade, open up the vegetation, and we'll have great views to the south and to the north. One view we'd like to open up, because it was historically open, is the view over top of the canal. And that's a nice view as well, very scenic. Ultimately, we would like to see, it's not shown in this plan, but a trail that goes all the way around this canal, and then trails that go around this canal. We would have to have some acquisition fee simple easement on this side with adjacent property owners, and that's why it's not on this drawing, but it's something we've talked about in committee. The western part of the southern parcel is just a nice place to be. This is where people love to come and walk their dogs. We have meadows now. We are looking to sustain them, benefit of water quality and environmental benefits and lower maintenance benefits. Small wetlands area, we might be able to bring a trail with a little boardwalk in there. But trails meandering the site and going through the site and connecting. We need to meet ADA, but every trail doesn't need to be paved. It may be stone dust, it may be mowed, it may be paved. We would have a hierarchy of trails. But we would try to develop an entrance off the rail trail where you could come in and have a fairly direct kind of route to get to the hub area. We have a unique opportunity here. If you're familiar with Hanford Road, we have a business in this location, and opposite it there's this hedgerow and this little triangle piece of land. I did reach out. One of my interviews was with the Economic Development Authority. I think that's their name. But with them to talk about this parcel. There was no commitment, but there was an openness to, yes, maybe this could be a shared opportunity to develop an access to this western portion of the park. Because the park's so large, you really need to walk there to, and a lot of people probably miss this area. Then I called the engineer that works on the rail trail as well as the executive director, and everybody said this is probably a good location for a trailhead, in terms of the interval between trailheads, and a good place for parking. So we developed a schematic for a parking area here that have a small restroom. Access to the rail trail would allow us access to the western portion of the park, and will allow people to get on the rail trail here and go north or south. What's great about this is it sets us up for funding because everybody's working together. You're part of this project, so we have the county, we have the Historic Society, we have the Rail Trail Authority, we have the Redevelopment Authority, everything you need to get money from
Economic development.
Yep. So this is not a done deal. This would have to be negotiated with the Economic Development Authority, but there would be no other use for this parcel. It's a small kind of leftover piece. This area shows the Historic Society area. There is some additional parking here, some area to get back for some maintenance and functional loading, unloading activities. But then good access to this shared parking in the center. We've developed kind of a little community area. Everybody was in agreement in the committee that we didn't want ball fields, we don't want soccer fields, it's not that kind of park. This is a passive historic park, and there's true consensus on that. We did feel that some opportunity for maybe a small playground. We had some horseshoe pits here and a pavilion. Very informal kind of recreation might be accommodated here. This shows the size of a softball field. If, as a picnic or reunion opportunity, you wanted to have a softball field, it may or may not have a backstop, but it wouldn't be developed. There wouldn't be an infield. We're just showing the size of it, basically. And then this area has some parking associated with it. We see the quarry as a place where people will want to go fish. They fish there now. It's very scenic, opening up some views to it, some trail access points to the low side, and then additional parking here for all of these activities. And then with Union Canal Days or other special events, having a way to come in here and have overflow parking. In between this and the hub area, we have an events lawn, so that you can set up tents and do other things, a nice flat expanse of lawn. So this is just a quick sketch showing the barn again, that you can have some tables with umbrellas and things out here, lawn areas. This is one of the historic rocks that has the plaques on it. about the engineering and other aspects of the historic site. And kind of just to show you what it might be. Again, to hide the maintenance.
Girl Libby would be pleased.
You have the liability, and we've done numerous parks with quarries in them. Well, not numerous, more than one though. 2 or 3 with quarries in them. And there are ways to deal with that. Presenting the best way to get to that water feature and controlling where people go and giving them rules is one of the best things to do. Parks are traditionally the leftover land. We get the wetlands, the quarries, the whatever, the floodplains, what nobody else wants. So
they're the most interesting as well.
they are the most interesting. They have great opportunities, and there's many examples of public settings with those kind of features in them.
And you're talking about the liability with a quarry, if I can do a selling point for opening it up, with the emergency management team that has to respond to, you know, people drowning and things. Access is one of the hardest things, so if you open that up, it actually makes it easier for emergency response crews to get in there and help, so that can reduce the liability is the point.
Yeah.
One thing with the committee that when we met, I think our primary goal was to keep most of it in its natural setting, not to infringe on it. That's why we expressed this to Ann, and everything, as you can see, is along 25th Street, basically, of buildings and that type of thing, because we did not want it to become another commercialized with things here.
There's somewhat of a hierarchy. We have our built facilities